out here until some people come here. What's up? Okay. Oh shit, why isn't this working? I just realized this isn't sharing correctly. That probably would have been good of me to realize earlier. Let me do this right now. Screen share. Don't want it that big. Why can't I get this to share my screen right? That is so irritating and annoying. And there's 0 people here. Let me keep messing around with this. Change. Oh, I see. I figured it out. Huh. I was dumb. But I figured it out. Hi. Hi. I look so pale. I guess I am really pale right now. I haven't been going outside. Oh, there's ads. Ugh. I need to figure that out. I don't love ads. I might try and get rid of ads. I need to figure that out and do some research on that and how that works. Because I don't want you guys to be seeing ads. Like, ads are not the vibe. Girl, you quit teaching this, and I started in the first week. It made me so sad. Oh, I'm sorry. Also, I low-key forgot to wear a shirt. I thought this was a different, but this is a bra, and it's not a shirt, but whatever, we're already here. Look at my acne right now. It's been bothering me so much. I also look really pale. I think the lighting is weird, per usual. Okay, that's a little bit better. Yeah, ads are not a vibe. Ads are literally not a vibe. Hi, Ashley. Hi, first time chat. I love a first time chat moment. My throat is really dry. I haven't had any water today, and I was talking a lot today. I was in a meeting that was literally so long. It was a really good meeting, but we got a lot done. I'm gonna change the brightness on this a little bit. We got a lot done. It was productive, good vibes, whatever. I'm gonna turn this down. It was productive. There we go. It was productive, good vibes, whatever. But it was just being in a long meeting. And because it's a new job, I'm very unsure of myself in said meetings. I'm doing well though, because a bunch of people were like, "Oh, I was eavesdropping. You did a good job," and I was like, yeah, I'll try to get rid of the ads though. I don't know how I got here. Hi, absolutely Jolly 15. What's up? How we living? How we loving? Are we live, laugh, loving? Is everyone live, laugh, loving? How are we feeling? Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and start to get into these. So I go through this every time. Here, let me rearrange my screen the way I need it to be. You would think I'd be a little more professional, but here we are. I need to get, I'm saving my minis. Just cried over math homework. Why are you crying over your math homework? What happened? What homework is it? Do you want help? I can help you. There we go. I used to cry over my math homework all the time. So I have been there. I have seen that struggle. First time chat viewer, Bessa, live, laugh, loving when we're with you, Miss Girl. Thanks. Okay, so let me go ahead and go through what I'm doing here. This is the education horror stories. So if you want to submit one, the link is on my channel. And I do a couple every week. Newest member of the team. This is Evie. They make these slides. So they are the ones that I read the submissions, obviously. But they go through and put them onto the Google Slides in the cute format so that I'm able to stream twice a week. So I used to just stream on Wednesdays, but now I'm doing it twice a week. So thanks to Evie. I also cried during math homework. Is it just a history person thing? Maybe. I hated math, and I was so bad at math until sophomore year of high school. It just clicked for me. And now I really like math. I would be a great math teacher. Mark my words, I would be a phenomenal math teacher. Hi, Josh. I would be a phenomenal math teacher, but kids a lot of times don't like math, so I would never do it because it's I feel it's easier to get kids excited about history than it is to get kids excited about math, so I would never teach math. I just didn't come across, accuse me of hitting them, and I almost lost my job today because they were mad at their report card comments I hated here. Okay, so I need to find that TikTok audio. I was looking for it the other day and I couldn't find it because I wanted the TikTok audio from Gretchen Wieners in Mean Girls where she's let it out. put it in the book, honey. And I was going to like link it to the Google form to submit your story to here, but I can't find that audio. So if any of you find a video with that audio, tag me in it. I was literally going to like record it to make that because I was proud of myself for thinking of that. But yeah, if on here anything is like reminding you of anything is reminding you of something that happened to you, feel free to submit a story. I'm a math major with a calc exam tomorrow. Definitely going to cry when I study tonight. Oh my God. Okay, so let's go ahead and go through these. I have a little bit less this time. I used to do 50 per stream, but now that I'm streaming twice a week, I'm going to do 30. And also because I don't want to rush. Like I've before felt like I was kind of rushing and didn't get to pay attention to the chat as much, and I really like the chat, so let's get into the first one. So did that help? My friend and I were both having really rough times in the IB program. IB is kind of like AP classes, like advanced classes. Both in toxic households with no suitable places to work at home, making things extremely difficult. We got sent to the school psychologist by our advisor separately. My friend went first, and when she came back, asked how it felt / how it went / was it helpful. She had told the psychologist her whole life story and said it was like talking to a brick wall. At the end, the psychologist was like, "Wait, I have something for you," and gave her a unicorn stress toy. So I didn't end up going. It didn't seem worthwhile. I agree with that. I wouldn't have gone. And I think that IB equals AP on steroids. Exactly. I think that stress toy still sits on our advisor's desk to this day, but truly mental health resources failed us so badly this year. I think I survived on the couple of teachers in spite alone. We got to reevaluate how we support students in mental health crisis because they were the most helpful, supportive people and the least qualified to be helping me through those things. Retweet to that. I tried to add more memes in. Students would come to me with mental health issues and I would like try to handle them because I didn't like feel like any of like the psychologist or things like that. Like most of them weren't at the school. They didn't know the kids. Like they were very overwhelmed. So I would like try and handle a lot of things myself if I felt like I could, but there were so many things that I was like, I'm not mature enough for this. I was like, I'm not mature enough to be dealing with this. This is above my pay grade. I don't know what I'm doing. I very much cannot handle this. Like I'm not qualified for this. Like kids would come to me with like really deep shit and really sad things, and I was like, that's crazy, dog. Just laugh through the pain. Because like obviously I didn't say that. I would be like nice and supportive and try my best, but like I don't know what to say to that. Thanks everybody for following me. Josh followed me. Gale91 followed me. Flash followed me. Thanks. But neither are the counselors most of the time. Yeah, exactly. So it's just like the blind leading the blind. Like literally the kids would be like, I have terrible anxiety. And I'd be like, let me know when you find a solution. Because me too, dog. That I did say one time. I had like a good rapport with that kid though. So they laughed and then we like bonded over it. But I was like, I don't know what to tell you, truly. I've been yelling at the staff in my school because they keep locking the 2 gender-neutral bathrooms. That's lame of them. Why are they locking the bathroom? The point of the bathroom is so people that can use it. Content warning, school shooting. Ooh. We need a new handbook. Also, Evie, they thought of the little titles for these, so shout out. Okay, so I'm a first-year teacher, lateral entry, so no previous education experience. We received no training on emergency situations like lockdowns other than read the handbook, and the handbook said that a lockdown meant to lock the classroom doors and students weren't allowed to have their phones out, no code words for different types of situations, no description of how we will get information during a crisis, nothing. Just to paint a picture, it's March. We still haven't had a lockdown drill since I began working here, yet we're in a location where nearly every family owns guns. They locked our bathrooms all the time to stop vaping. We always make the kids stop vaping. No one's asking why are they vaping. I don't like my hair right now. Looks odd. It's also wet. Okay, so one day, about 2 months into the school year, I received an automated phone call right as I pulled into the parking lot at 8 a.m. The message, which was sent to all faculty, parents, and students at the same time, basically said, hey, so guess what? Last night there was a student on social media threatening to shoot up our school, but don't worry, we've got it under control. No other info, just telling us not to worry. Literally, how do you respond to that? Like when you are in the parking lot at work, how do you respond to that? So nice of them to tell us once everyone's already at school so we can't call in. Yeah, that's fully why they told you right then. But of course, most of the student body heard about it the night before, and half the kids stayed home. Social media be working overtime with these kids. I'm proud of them for that shit. The kids did come. They were super on edge all morning, would ask what would happen if the kid did show up and start shooting. We were told to reassure students that everything was going to be fine, and that the student was just saying things he didn't mean. That doesn't feel like that plausible of a plan. Like, that really doesn't feel like that plausible of a plan. Just where they're like, everything's fine. We're all good. Just tell the kids it's fine. We have literally no evidence to prove that it's fine, but it's fine. Well, about an hour into the school day, we hear banging coming from the other end of the school. I locked the door just to be safe and continued teaching, but 5 minutes later, we were on lockdown, and the principal sounded terrified. Bro, that feeling when they announce a lockdown, and you're like, oh, it's probably a drill, and then the person on the announcement sounds scared, I do not like that. I do not like that. I've been in this situation. Not fun. Not fun at all. Not even taking pew-pew threats seriously. Absolutely not. Oh my God. So many schools, like, you'd think that's the one thing people would take seriously, but so many schools get so many threats all the time that, like, people don't take it seriously. And a lot of times, like, they need to take it seriously. You know what I mean? Like, they, like, will write anything off because they don't want to deal with it, and it, like, looks bad for the school. But, like, you need to deal with that stuff. You can't just, like, hope for the best. Like, with, like, strep throat, you can be like, oh, it's probably fine. But, like, it's a pew-pew. My room has a door on every wall, so we were scrambling, trying to barricade each door. I had kids having full-blown panic attacks in the corner. We all thought this kid had come to kill us. I was coming up with escape plans on the fly, frantically trying to figure out what items we could use as a weapon just in case. We were in lockdown for a full hour with absolutely no communication from administration. I was on lockdown for 2 hours one time and had no communication from administration at all, other than, like, lockdown, it's not on campus, for 3.5 hours one time. And I didn't have cell service in my classroom, so I, like, couldn't look up what was going on online. Like, I was trying to, and it wouldn't load. Looks bad on the school, bro. These schools, bro, it's fucking crazy out here. After what felt like forever, the principal came back on the loudspeaker to tell us the lockdown was over and everyone was to report to second period. That was it. No explanation, no nothing. That will happen. They'll be like, it's fine. Just go to your next class. Kids were still shaking and crying, yet admin expected us to just continue on with the school day like nothing happened. They ended up telling us why we had the lockdown a week later, claiming there was a fight in the hallways, but lockdown for an hour because of a fight. No idea what the bangs were right before. Immediately lost faith in our administration. That was in North Carolina. Here's a meme. Let me look through the chat while we have this meme moment. Thank you, Zero Bertson, for following me. Okay, let me catch up with the chat. Adults will take everything away before asking kids why they're doing something. Retweets that. I'm long-term subbing in a fancy building that has so many windows. I'm a little scared because there's nowhere to hide. Interesting. I'd never thought of that. I taught in a really old building. Like, my school was a literal historic site. So I'd, like, have never had that. But interesting. We once had a 4.5-hour lockdown. God, and thanks for being a subscriber. Thanks to everyone on here who's subscribing. Shout out to you. Housing costs are increasing dramatically, so you're helping me out because I have to move in July. At 1 p.m. on a Tuesday, literally putting a dirty Band-Aid on the problem instead of trying to solve it. Yeah. Ooh, first time chat. Okay, one time the lockdown alarm accidentally went off and there were about 5 minutes the lockdown came over the speaker and all they said was sorry about that. Oh my God. God, these people. The fact that the lack of hiding places is even a thought in our mind is such a glaring red flag. So, like, a lot of times I would have to teach in a classroom that wasn't mine because sometimes the AC would go out in mine, or, like, another teacher would need to use my room for testing because it was, like, a certain number of desks, like, whatever. So sometimes I would be in, like, random classrooms, and every time I would get into a classroom, that's what I would think about. I'd be like, okay, where would we go? What would we do? And then, like, the school gave me the lockdown plan. They're like, this is what you should do with the students. But it was the same plan for every classroom, and, like, the spot they told me to put students, you could see them through the window. And I was like, you can literally see them through the window. Like, I should, because it was like, seat them away from the window, but I was on the first floor. So if they're away from the window and you're standing in front of the window, you just see everybody. And it was like a window. Like, I didn't have curtains or anything over it. And so I was like, I basically had, like, my own plan that I thought of because I was like, this plan is a bad plan. So I had, like, my own that I thought of, and I told my AP about it, and, like, showed him what I thought, and he was like, yeah, you're literally right. So when we would do the drills, which we didn't do that many, we never had a fire drill, but we had a lot of active shooter drills. I think because the active shooter drills, it's like less chaotic for the administrators. They don't have to go outside. They don't have to like monitor all the kids and make sure no one runs away. We never had a fire drill, and that's when administrators have to go outside. But a hard lockdown drill, yeah, we had those like once a month. Yay, live, laugh, love. French teacher in 7th grade said she always picked hiding spots or escape routes. So sad. Off topic, but school ruins the minds of kids, the thing they're supposed to be doing. I spent a lot of time in high school thinking of how I would handle a shooter. I've never had lockdown training. I did have lockdown training. That's the one thing I did get training on. Our most recent active shooter training included a presentation led by a Sandy Hook parent. Interesting. We were required to practice once a month. We're in elementary, so it's the same room every time. No idea what we'd do if it was the cafeteria or recess. Cafeterias give me so much anxiety. I never go in them. Regular old illegal activity. Before I transferred, I worked with special ed kindergartners that were legally supposed to have 4 adults in the room. I was 22 and constantly alone with 14 high-need 5-year-olds. None are potty trained, and one was in a wheelchair. I was forced to work while I was sick during a pandemic. They took away my lunch and didn't let me go to the bathroom. I constantly bled through my pants on my period. They would always talk to me like I was stupid and act like I didn't know what I was talking about. I said students were at risk and in danger with so little supervision. Kids would punch me in the stomach, punch each other, throw chairs, throw my laptop across the room, throw the projector, rip posters off the wall, pee on the ground, etc. This was happening with every kid. Every day I didn't get a single break and was constantly about to faint because I couldn't eat. They also needed so much testing for their disability that I had no time or resources to do. They never provided us with curriculum or workbooks, so I had to pirate them offline. I was told I was failing as a teacher and should do something else with my life. They also didn't take it seriously when I reported one of my students' parents sexually harassing me. They then tried to force me by tricking me into signing separation papers so I would be exited from the district. Thankfully, I didn't sign and complain to HR. I got transferred to a new school and love my job now, but damn, I was so depressed during that time. At no point in that, like at every point in that, I was like, it can't get worse. It can't get worse. This is so bad, it can't get worse. And then it just somehow kept getting worse. That's fucking horrifying. Our lockdown training involved admin shooting at us with Nerf guns. I'm sorry. I want to focus on that for a second. The thing that gets me the most about that is it was more than one person, which means they had a meeting and discussed it and decided it was a good idea. You know what I mean? Like, they were like, yeah, this is the plan. This is what we're doing. Like, multiple adults came to that conclusion, which I think that's the most concerning part. Yeah, special ed teachers do not get the support they need. My orchestra teacher doesn't care about her students. It took her 4 months to realize no one calls me my dead name. Ooh, that sucks. I'm sorry. Ooh, first time chat and Prime Gaming. I don't really know what that means, but nice. I got suspended for refusing to say the Pledge of Allegiance in 2009. They took like 3 turns. We did it like 3 years in a row. Oh God, they took turns. We did it 3 years ago about the Nerf guns. How did no one get in trouble off of that? Like, does the district know about that? Like, that's so bad. That's not okay. I'm laughing, but it's not funny. Here, I made this meme about bleeding through their pants at work. I used to bleed through my pants. Literally, I would bleed through my pants the first and second day of my period every time, because I would it's not that I couldn't go to the bathroom, but I would forget to. Like, if I had to go to the bathroom, I had someone I could ask, like my next door neighbor, and he would watch my class. So I fully was allowed to go to the bathroom whenever I needed to. I would obviously try to not go during class because we're doing stuff the whole time, and if you leave, the kids get off focus and it takes a while to get them back. But a lot of times I would just be so busy the whole day and drink no water because I was so busy that I would not go to the bathroom, and then I would get home, and every single time. It happened literally every time. Hate it, TBH, just want health care. I don't know, but I quit that school. The special ed teacher at my school spent 4 hours a couple weeks ago telling parents at a private school I work at to get their kids updated IEPs. They hadn't updated them since 2018. Jesus. But yeah, this is a old meme. This is a Tumblr meme. Teachers bleeding through their pants at work because they don't have basic human rights. Oh, God. Parents, they hadn't updated an IEP since 2018. That's literally fucking crazy. Bled through Bled through during class once and heard my teacher gasp. He was a good teacher. I would always wear black jeans, so no one could ever tell that I had bled through, but I could tell. I felt it, and I would get home, and I felt it in, like, the last class of the day, and I was like, damn, I guess I'm gonna just go home now. My God. Okay, the old COVID excuse. Last year, my principal would quarantine behavior problem students. They pressured other admin and teachers to say they were in proximity with a student who tested positive. Keep in mind, many students, or in this case, most students at this school, were on IEPs. You can't just quarantine a kid because they have an IEP. Like, I'm sorry, but you're not allowed to do that. Like, sometimes students have needs and you have to accommodate them. You unfortunately cannot just quarantine away student needs. At this current moment in time, that's just not an option that we have available. This is a meme. Do you guys know what this is from? Do you guys know what this GIF, whatever it's called? Do you know what this is from? I'm testing you. This is awful. Reef the Wizard. It's giving eugenics. No, it is giving eugenics. It's like, you're loud sometimes, so you're going to have to stay home. Parks and Rec. Thank you. It took me a long time to find this GIF. I was, like, committed to it. Like, I thought of this when I read that one. I do make the memes. I thought of this when I read that one, and I was like, I need this specific GIF, and I couldn't find it anywhere. It took so long. It's giving school to prison pipeline. Yeah. They really said, what if we could make the school to prison pipeline as short as humanly possible? As short as humanly possible. Not really crazy followed me, and so did Akron Ford. Thanks. Peace and love. Welcome to the party. Okay. Okay, so cooking class. In my high school cooking class, we had to fill out allergy forms and such. I wrote down that I'm Catholic, so I can't eat meat on Fridays. I didn't know that was a thing. One Friday, we made something with meat, and I told my teacher I'm unable to eat it because of my situation. She pretty much did not believe me and told me to eat it or fail the assignment. That's illegal. That's very illegal. Oh, during Lent. I thought it was like a 365 thing. Just during Lent. Let's stay on this one for a second, because the next one's really long. I spent 2.5 years working in public school. Hearing anything about IEPs triggers me so bad. Sorry, someone sent me a message. I was at this work event today, and a bunch of people were like, I know people there, and I was confused. I'm not Catholic. I can't say if I can commit full time. Yeah, and I'm wondering if they ate it. I'm assuming no. Like, I'm assuming they didn't, and then they just, like, had their parents call or something. Not eating meat on Fridays is mostly observed during Lent, but some more strict Catholics do it 365. Interesting. My grandma is Catholic, and I've never heard of her talking about that, but she's the only Catholic person in my family, so she doesn't really talk about it that much, just because, like, none of us know what she's talking about. Interesting. I'm in the middle of writing 4 IEPs right now. Oh, God. Man, the chat's like a lot right now. First Amendment violations run deep in the school. Fucking retweet to that. I went to Catholic school and they made a point to only serve cheese pizza on Fridays during Lent in the cafeteria. The salad bar wouldn't even have chili on Fridays. Interesting. Was it a Catholic school where everyone was Catholic? Because, like, where I live, there's a good amount of Catholic schools where, like, non-Catholic people will send their kids there just because they're a good school, and, like, my district kind of sucks. I have a 504, not an IEP, but my teachers don't follow it, and I don't know what to do. Okay, so I don't know how old you are, and I don't know, like, what your vibe is, but I'm going to give you a couple options of what to do. So, one, a little more of an aggressive tactic. What I would do is be like, according to my 504, you need to do X. And if you say it like very point blank, or not you need to do, because that's kind of like pointed, but I would say, according to my 504, I need to have blank in class. Just say, I need to have blank in class. And that'll kind of make them be like, oh shit. Because teachers are like not used to kids advocating for themselves. I'm going to be honest, I probably violated a lot of IEPs and 504s in my day because I usually wouldn't get them until really like late into the year. And a lot of times they were super out of date, and the kids were like, oh, none of that stuff's true anymore. Like, I don't need that. Like, so I'm sure I violated a ton of them, but anytime a kid was like, hey, according to my thing, I need this, like, always would make sure I jumped on it. So if you don't feel 100% comfortable doing that, I completely understand. It can be kind of overwhelming to do that. And what I would do is see if you have like a parent or a counselor or another teacher that can advocate for you. So if you have a teacher that does follow your stuff, just ask them to send an email or to talk to the person or have a conversation, or ask a parent to send an email can help a lot too. What for teachers that are on this, what I would do at the beginning of the year every year, I taught 11th grade, so my kids were older. I don't think you could do this in elementary school, is I would ask them, like, do you need any accommodations in class? And then offer a couple things. And most of the accommodations, I would let anyone use them. Like, even if you didn't have an IEP, if you wanted extra time, I'm going to give you extra time to take your test, you know? So I would kind of like list off the common ones and they could check off. And then I would say, like in the thing, if I ever forget, please say something, I will never be mad at you. And I would like just set the norm that like there's a lot of you, I have a lot of kids on IEPs, like I just need a little bit of help with this. And they would be good about advocating for themselves with it. So if you're a teacher and IEPs are something you didn't get much training on or you're feeling really overwhelmed by, I would set up procedures on like how to make sure that you are enforcing it, if that makes sense. That's how I handled the situation. I live in a very Catholic area, lots of German and Irish immigrants. Got it. For a long time, they were only alternatives for public schools. Yeah. You're welcome. One of my friends is a culinary student at college, and they made lamb one Friday as Lent, and her teacher made her eat it. Unrelated, she deadass fainted in class. I told her to tell him it was an act of God because she ate meat. That's a good idea. Use I statements to advocate for your 504. If you're in middle or high school, you certainly have the right to be involved and have a copy of yourself. Deaf need to get an adult involved. Affordable alternative. There's always some elite $25,000 a year private school you just haven't heard of. The choir teacher in my middle school looked down a girl's shirt. Disgusting. Disgusting. You sound like such an awesome teacher. I don't mean to brag, but I literally was. Thank you. I really, really appreciate that. That's something that I've been reflecting on the last like couple weeks, because now that I'm like not there, I'm thinking about it more. Like being there, all my mental energy was going into being the best teacher I could be. So I wasn't thinking about like what I had done and should be proud of myself for. But like looking back, I was really crushing that shit. Like in a lot of ways. Like I really, really was. And I really like, the more I think about it, the more I know that I do want to return to the classroom someday. When I left, I thought it was like 50-50. I was like, I bet there's like a good chance I'll want to go back someday, but there's a chance that I won't. I think I will. I definitely will in some capacity. I would love to teach like history or sociology or something like that part-time at a high school, like a public traditional high school. I know most of those don't hire part-time teachers, but I'm hoping, I don't know, God will work everything out or whatever. I send my school's special ed director almost daily. I'd rather bug her all the time than not provide a student with their accommodations. Send emails. Yeah, same thing. I would be like, help me, please. And they would always be like, you send us so many more emails. Like everyone else ignores us and doesn't reply to us. Me and them, we had a pretty good rapport. We weren't that close, but we had a good rapport. You went above me on trying to handle the mental stuff you thought you could. Most teachers could never. That's the one thing that like, I loved being there for my students. I loved being there when they needed something. Like it was very fulfilling to me, but obviously it is tiring. And obviously if you have a ton of things to do and someone comes to you, it can be kind of stressful. That doesn't diminish how much I love and value being there and that they trusted me. But one thing that I like about working at an office is like, if I'm working on something like today, I was like editing this website for this person and it was just like really confusing and I was having a really hard time with it and I was stressed out about it and I was focused on it and like no one came up to me and like trauma dumped on me, which like my students always have the right to trauma dump on me. If you're watching this, you still have the right to trauma dump on me. Text me, call me, literally anytime. But it was like, I was thinking about how sometimes when I was teaching, I would be in a mode like that, like really working on something during my planning period, and a student would like come in and tell me about like a fight they'd had with their mom, and I would have to be like, okay, and like stop what I was doing. And obviously I'm happy to do it, but like I get stuff done a lot faster. Call me B if you want to reach me. Y'all know where to find me. Y'all literally do. I wrote my cell phone number on the board in Expo, obviously, when I left, and then the sub called me the other day. He was like, do you have a key to the room? I'm locked out. And I was like, what? Apparently they're in there with a sub. That's the last I heard. The computer teacher in my middle school used to sniff girls' hair. And when allegations came out, his wife came to the school and started to cuss him out. Stop. What? I'm sorry, H Smith 567. We need to focus on this. That's insane. The grown men in every school I've ever worked at and the way they were around teenage girls, so disgusting. Like, I've seen some men be cool in schools, but like a lot of them are not. I was trying to write some sort of intense referral today, and I had a line of students at my desk, and I wanted to talk to them, but like, guys, I have work to do. No, that's really how I feel. I'm like, I want to talk to you about this right now, but like, I have homework. Good for the wife for not excusing him, though. Yeah, good for her for embarrassing him. Oh my God. Thank you, Not My Cup of Tea, for giving out a subscription. Thank you. Love that. The poor girls in my choir. God. Not My Cup of Tea giving subscriptions out here. Love that for us. Thank you very much. That like warms my heart. So cute and gorgeous. God. Okay. This is a long one. This one like really hit home to me. This one really like struck deep because this was like very similar to my life. Not everything, but it kind of like reminded me of some stuff. Would you have stayed working there and being a teacher if the admin wasn't so shit? Interesting. I think I would have still left because I needed more money. So the housing cost in the city that I live in rose extremely dramatically. They rose by like, not really crazy. Thank you for subscribing. Housing cost in the city that I live in rose really dramatically by like 30-40%. And they didn't give teachers really a raise. It was a less than a 1% raise. So I was going to have to leave just to be able to afford housing. But what I think I would have ended up doing and what I thought I wanted to do is gotten a job doing online teaching and then like done freelance work and tried to build my own business and like kind of have a dual income off of both of those things. I think that's probably what I would have done. And my plan is like I wanted to do that and then like do freelance work and have my business, like whatever that may be, like marketing, consulting, whatever. There's something in my eye. Marketing, consulting, whatever. And then I wanted to like hopefully one day go back and teach part-time. I think that's still a plan. I do want to go back and teach part-time. But yeah, I think I would have still had to leave teaching for financial reasons. It just would have been a little different. The way men would talk about how you can't be alone with these girls. Okay, so one exception to that, my department head, who's an absolute king, always told me that you should always leave the door open when you're with one student. Like he was like, no matter what, leave the door open because you never know the impact you're having on other people and someone could be uncomfortable without you realizing it. So he was like, no matter how close you think you are to a student, no matter how normal you think it is, you literally just never know how it's being perceived. So always keep the door open because it's like just a way to set clear boundaries and like make sure you're not unintentionally making someone uncomfortable. And I feel like that's a very good outlook to have on that. You know, how many years did you teach and how mature they look? Ugh. Men would always tell me that I looked mature when I was like 14. And in reality, what they meant is that I had big boobs and was very groomable. That's what they meant. I was not mature. I just had big boobs and was easy to manipulate. Okay, how many years did you teach? I taught early Head Start for 1 year, and then I taught high school for 2.5 years. That's disgusting. Down with men. I know you're new to Twitch. These emotes with the purple text are. I'm going to be honest, I don't really know. I think it's very true. I'm sure men who act like they live in fear of false allegations. Yeah, absolutely. They probably live in fear of real ones. Men that live in fear of false allegations actually live in fear of real allegations. Like anyone that's like, oh, these false allegations, it's like, you're afraid of the actual allegations, dog. Like you're afraid of actual allegations because they'd be right. It's like tipping in Twitch. 100 is $1. Oh, cool. Very nice vibe. Thank you. For real, it's so suspicious. Thanks, Kirby Face, for subscribing. Peace and love. It's so suspicious. Yeah, anytime a man is like, oh, what about these women with these fake allegations? And I'm like, you got some skeletons in your fucking closet. That's for damn sure. Like, why did you say that? Why did you fucking say that? If they're false, then there'd be no evidence. There'd be nothing to be afraid of. That's always what I say. I'm like, not like literally 97% of those cases get thrown out. So like statistically, you have nothing to worry about. Right? I'm sorry you're 50 and can't stop looking at teenage girls' asses. Like, what are we going to do about men in schools? What are we going to do about men in schools? Because men are just in these schools, and I feel like we need to do something about it. Okay, listen to the PLC 1 out of 4. This one really struck home with me because it was someone who taught U.S. history, which has a high stakes EOC, and this is exactly the situation that I was in regards to the testing stuff. Okay, I previously submitted a story about having a department chair who takes up too many roles and is extremely emotionally abusive. I recall. Her reign of terror hit an all-time high for me and my PLC this week. Can I just say, I'm loving the update stories. I'm hating that you're going through this, but I love that people are updating in real time about what is happening in their schools and in this situation. That's incredible. And so if you've submitted a story and there's something else happened, feel free to let me know. Feel free to drop that update. So we teach U.S. history, which is followed by a high-stakes EOC. An EOC is an end-of-course exam. It is a standardized test. If your child is in Florida and taking the U.S. history EOC, let me know. I have tons of stuff I can send you to help them. I love water. Sometimes when I lay in my bed and I drink my water like this, I'll be laying down, drinking my water. I feel like a hamster because it's the thing is similar. You know what I mean? Does anyone else feel like that, or is that really weird? It's like a soap opera. I love these updates. I feel like I'm on group FaceTime. We are, okay. So administration rides our course and tests to boost our school's grade because we score the highest out of every single test of the school. Ditto. Due to this, they also pressure us to conduct review sessions for the EOC. I was supposed to be doing Saturday school. They were going to tried to make me, I always refused, come in every Saturday to do U.S. history review with the kids. And it did not pay that well. It paid, but not that well. Due to this, they pressure us to conduct review sessions. A veteran teacher in our department has been hosting these sessions for the past few years. He's a great guy, but absolutely overwhelming and doesn't listen to our PLC leader, who happens to be a younger woman. This is the first time he's been in a PLC. A PLC is a professional learning community. It's a group of teachers that plan together and stuff like that. First time he's been in a PLC with all women, and the first woman has led it. When planning the review sessions, he would often ignore all the work we did and just say, okay, well, I have to talk this through with my friend who's retired. Why does your friend who's retired get an opinion? I'm very confused about that. Why would they get an opinion on this matter? Eventually, we just had to let him continue the things he wanted to do, regardless of what the majority of the PLC wanted. Once the reviews started, students refused to go. Sorry, I keep burping. They're done during the 11th grade study hall, where students legally have the right to work on whatever they choose. Also time for students to receive services like speech therapy and get them without missing classes. After the first session bombed, we got pressured by admin to offer extra credit or grades for kids to attend these, which is illegal because inherently, you need to make extra credit an even playing field. So if I have speech therapy at that time, I'm ineligible to get extra credit even if I wanted to. So that's why that's not okay, for anyone that was wondering, why it's not okay to offer extra credit for that. This makes me feel the way that boomers running the country make me feel. How is his retired friend relevant? No, literally, it's why? Why would you call him? I get it if it was some niche thing where you're oh, he did this last year before he retired. We should ask his opinion. He'd love to help us. That's fine. But everything... Okay, the man who was running them freaks out and starts screaming matches about these sessions and how the rest of the PLC didn't do anything to help every single day. He's been our administrator and our department chair ear, and they're only listening to him. For example, 3 weeks ago, our admin asked us to do a common assessment to get whole data for the review sessions. Basically, give all the kids a test, see what they score the lowest on, make sure you review the stuff that they did poorly on. It's a common test prep strategy. My PLC chair offered a 52-question pre-test made by the people who make our EOC from the textbook. The male teacher complained and said it was too much work and that our admin just needed to see all the work he did and the kids needed to be forced to show up. Okay. 2 weeks later, he emailed us a 100-question test not covering the standards and said we need to give it this week. I love how men will be fuck your work. We're not doing that. Mine is better, and then theirs are terrible. I'm really wondering how that's possible, that they're fuck you, yours is bad, when they literally just could have taken yours and it would have been no extra work. But instead, they're I'm going to make my own, and then they make the worst thing possible. Legally get to choose what to study during it. Wow, I didn't even get any study hall options when I had extra credits from taking more math in the summer to get ahead. And didn't need all my classes. I'm very pro study hall. I think the school day should be a little bit longer, and I think it should have a longer lunch kids should have time to be outside, like recess, but like non-structured even for high school students, and they should have like a study hall. Oh, sorry. I turned on like chat moderation and it like took someone's chat out, but I put it in there because I wanted it in there. Okay, I'm happy that the chat moderation is working because I got like a troll last time and it was not fun. What a succinct summary of men. Fuck your thing. We're doing my worst idea. Exactly. Exactly. My high school didn't even have a study hall option, which sucked. Okay. During the review sessions, she started barging into classrooms and forcing people to get their students to log on. She then went back to her classroom and ignored any emails from our PLC about the common assessment and sent our PLC an email saying the entirety of the EOC relies on this guy's review sessions. She also said we need to learn from him on how to do full direct instruction. He lectures the entire 90 minutes. Oh my God. And the rest of us have more student-centered classes, and the group projects and student-directed work would not bring them to pass the test. This statement was a direct hit at me because I had just had a personal conversation with her this week about how I prefer student-centered work and don't do more than 30 minutes of direct instruction in a class period, something my instructional coach has praised me for. My limit was 40. 40 minutes of direct instruction is where I cut it off, but I also used Nearpod during direct instruction, so it's like a little more engaging than just talking, but like 90 is fucking insane. 90 minutes of direct instruction, that's absolutely insane. Yeah, there are people talking about how study hall is like critical and helpful. Exactly. We have the same color on browser on Google. Oh my God, Lauren, thanks. We have the same color, twinsies. The gay agenda followed me? Does that mean I'm a part of the gay agenda? That's exciting. Good for me. Here's a meme that I made about this. Teachers after... Oh, wait. I wasn't done. Just kidding. We responded by trying to alert her to all the work that we did that he ignored. She later responded by singling out yet another teacher, my friend, who is new to the school but has many years of experience. The male teacher... Telling the male teacher, but especially my friend, needed to do our PLC's chair's common assessment in conjunction with how absent this department chair has been, like legit not in her classroom since September, 30 minutes to school every single day. She hasn't helped anyone in our department. My friend who was singled out immediately looked at transferring schools. Here's a meme that I made about it. Don't let DeSantis know. I want to be in DeSantis's inbox. I want to live rent-free in Ron DeSantis's head. I want him to hate me. That's how I will achieve greatness, is by Ron DeSantis hating me. That's when I know I'll be doing enough for the world. I'm going to go off camera for a second because I want to fix my shirt, and I don't want men on the internet to be weird about it. But I'm right here. I can still see you, and I'm still talking. Ugh. Okay. Material Girls. I was singing that song at work today, like, Material Girl, and no one knew what I was talking about, and I think my coworkers, like, my coworkers might really think something's wrong with me. The skeleton in the back. You mean Mike? That's Mike. So my dog Mike. I'm gonna move so you can see him better. You need a hazmat suit to be in his head. Girl. Material Girl. Sorry. This is a Ron DeSantis hate account. Before anything, this is a Ron DeSantis hate account. This meme thing, this is from Veep. I've been watching Veep on HBO. Thank you to whoever recommended Veep on HBO to me. I'm very much having a great time. Oh my God, I just realized I still have Trader Joe's margarita. I'm gonna pour a margarita really fast. It's gonna be so fast, like you don't even know, because I'm just gonna bring everything over here and just pour it right here. So I'm gonna pour a margarita. We can all enjoy ourselves. I haven't really eaten enough today, so this is probably gonna go really poorly, really quickly, but give me 1 second. I don't know if you can see me right now, and you probably can't hear me, but I don't know. Oh my God, are my lights out? My kitchen light is out. Now I have to call the people. like all the way back. Margarita break. Okay. Sorry, I was getting a margarita. Did you drop something? I was getting ice. Okay, let me catch up with the chat. Sorry, I took a break. We need you to get some technical difficulties seen in some emotes. I don't know how that works. Margarita break, go to low-tech paper sign to hang on the chair, crashing noises in the background. Yeah, exactly. Okay. So please listen to the PLC continued. I spent a week at my old high school. Oh my God, why does it keep skipping ahead? No one will do anything to benefit the kids in the situation. They're not looking at how to change the review sessions to something the kids want to attend. They just want to keep it so this guy's ego doesn't shatter and he doesn't quit. Not to mention the lack of care in our department chairs. Students have gotten her due to being absent almost the entire year while teaching the ACE courses. I remember this. Because of the teacher drama and absolute unpredictability and emotional abuse of our department chair puts us through, no one will run against her. There's no course of action to punish her. It's so disappointing considering how incredible and strong our department is. If we get almost 80% of our kids passing the test, what would happen if we had good leadership? Anonymous from Florida. Teachers always block our tabs and we can't do work. I'm sorry. The emotes are the little Twitch emojis. Ah, got it. I understand now. Thank you. I love everyone. I feel like a boomer. Like, you know when like an old person becomes friends with teenagers and the teenagers like teach the old person things, not in like a weird way, but in like a wholesome way. That's what I feel like on here. I like it on here though. Okay, cafeteria nightmare. I spent a week observing at my old high school a few months ago. I'm a pre-service teacher. I found out they were serving the students raw and moldy food. The students even started up an Instagram to upload all the evidence. It was taken down. It was taken to the school board and ended up on multiple local news outlets. It took over a month, if not multiple months, to fix the issue. Not only did it take way too long to fix, it never should have happened in the first place. Hard retweet to that. Okay, this is a really long one. It's 9 slides, and someone said, girl, you said to send the long one, so here it goes. Love the long ones. I'm a geriatric millennial, and and learning Twitch has been a struggle. Yeah, it's like confusing. Yeah, God. Okay. So I graduated in May 2020. Oh my God, this is yours? Manny Mart, this is yours? I'm so glad you came onto here because like, this is such a good one. The lunch food in America is so bad. Yeah, it should be like, that needs to be discussed at the UN. Like American kids' lunch food needs to be a topic of conversation at the UN. I'm being 100% serious right now. Okay. So I graduated in May 2021 with my bachelor's in secondary English education and a minor in film. I moved to New York with my partner. With the timeline, I wasn't able to get certified so that I could work in a public school. The cert requirements in New York are insane compared to VT, I'm assuming Vermont. I don't know my abbreviations. Yeah, New York is crazy hard to get certified in. Crazy hard. I interviewed at a charter school in Harlem and was hired right before I graduated. Their website boasts a high graduation and college attendance rate, and the staff in the exit interview were super welcoming and made me feel at ease. They told me that I didn't have enough experience to be a classroom lead English teacher and offered me an apprentice teacher position. They said I would be sort of like an assistant teacher to someone more experienced while being a building sub. This sounded perfect to me, and I did not feel ready to handle the workload of having my own classroom, so I took the job. $53,000 was crazy to me as someone who had never had a salary, and this is from a state with very low pay for teachers, so of course I took it. For those of you that don't know, teachers in New York make a lot more than most teachers in the United States, like in other states, partially because of cost of living and partially just because New York spends a lot more per student on education than most other states do. That's just the policy of that state. So that's like 53 is high in some states, but it's very low in New York. I think New York, most teachers make like 80, 90, something in there. And some kids rely on it for their meals too, exactly. My cafeteria workers were giving larger portions and they made it so they were making more money and the district fired them. Jesus. He said hard retweet out loud. Do you say it IRL to conversation with people? Yeah, that's why my coworkers think I'm insane because they're like, why does she talk like that? And I'm just like terminally online, and then was like terminally with teenagers who talk like this because they're terminally online. So this is just my personality now, which is fine. I love my personality. If you can't hang, you can't hang. That's fine. You don't have to understand what I'm joking about. You know what I mean? Okay. I show up to training week with no info about what class I will be assistant teaching, but the charter school really hyped us up. I was told I would win a $100 gift card for showing up earliest, then never got it. I was told I'd be teaching film to high school. This was something I mentioned as a long-term goal when I was more experienced, but they exploited that one moment in the interview to create an entire elective for me to create in 1 week. They had us make an entire scope and sequence in 1 week. I went from expecting to be an assistant teacher or sub with not a ton of planning responsibilities to being the sole teacher of an elective, which I have never taught within this, which the school had no curriculum for. I designed the curriculum from scratch. I had 2 class sections, which I know isn't a lot. That is a lot. I only ever taught 1, and it was hard. Even planning for 1 was hard. But it was on top of me being a building sub. I would be asked to cover for my coworkers with almost no notice, no extra pay. So what gets me is that I get being a building sub if you're like a teaching assistant, but then they also are making you be a building sub now that they're making you be a whole ass teacher, which is insane. Like, you cannot do both of those things. I was so overwhelmed with student behavior and received no support when I was supposed to be an assistant in the first place. The kids were unmotivated, so out of control. I loved them and formed very close bonds with them, even led the queer straight alliance, the only thing that brought me joy, but I was becoming someone I didn't like. No matter how clear my instructions were, no matter how differentiated, how objectively easy, kids just completely opted out, talked over me for the entire class. FaceTime people, stood up and started making TikToks. I had a no TikTok rule in my classroom. If I saw you doing a TikTok dance, I would literally make you let me be in the video. This is before I started making TikToks. Once I started making TikToks, I didn't do that because obviously I didn't want anyone to have that happen. But I was like, I have to be in it. And then I would just delete it right after. And they would get so embarrassed. Watching me do their TikTok dance, they'd be like, this is so embarrassing now. And I'd be like, yeah, it is embarrassing. It is embarrassing. Look at us both here, embarrassed to be doing TikTok dances in class because that is embarrassing. TikTok dances you do outside during lunch, things like that. Not during learning time. Okay, let me focus. Sorry. I got a little heated. One time we did standardized testing, and then I got stuck in the room with the kids for 4 hours. They wouldn't let me release the kids, so we were just in there, and I let them do TikTok dances, and they were doing TikTok dance competitions, and I was like, we're stuck in a room with literally nothing, so I'm happy that you're finding a wholesome way to entertain yourselves. And I got in trouble. They're like, you're letting the kids do TikTok dances, and I was like, we're literally stuck in a room with nothing to do, no book bags, nothing, for 4 hours. So yeah, sorry, they're dancing. Get over it. And I tried to put on a movie, but the speakers didn't work. Okay. Admin can suck it, right? You'd be instant clout, right? Now they wish they could get you to cameo in their TikToks. No, I would be in the school and I'd be like, nope, don't look at me. And they'd be like, can I tag you in this? And I'd be like, no. I'd be like, run me a brand deal, then we'll talk. Free clout off your teacher. It's embarrassing. Are you not embarrassed? Whenever I see TikToks of people in class, I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? How is the teacher letting you do that? My kids would show me TikToks that they made in other classes, and some of them were so elaborate. Do you remember that audio that was helicopter, helicopter, or whatever? And people would do the spinning thing. They were doing it all around the room. And I was like, where was your teacher when this was happening? And they were like, oh, he wasn't paying attention. And I was like, oh, that's insane. While I was speaking, it was so draining. I would message on Slack constantly and ask for help, but it was a running joke with me and my coworkers that admin never responded to my Slacks for help. At the beginning of the year, I had a student who I was really struggling with. I was told by my coach, who taught history and knew nothing about film, who I had a super, super uncomfortable, awkward rapport with, to build a relationship with him. He was like, try eating lunch with him. Don't call his parents. Call him after school and have a heart-to-heart with him. I was like, fuck no. This kid is 16, and 1, that's not appropriate. 2, not going to help. It took his coach, that was strong, and you probably just heard my mouth noises. Sorry about that. It took his coach intervening to actually do something. It was still sad when he didn't sign my goodbye t-shirt. What? Sorry, I think I need to reread that. Don't call his parents after school. It took his coach intervening to actually do something, but it was still sad when he didn't sign my goodbye t-shirt. I understand now. Sorry. Speaking of the coach, he was part of what made it hell. He was very artificial, and all of our interactions seemed like performances. He'd ask, how was your weekend? Haha, I feel that. Okay, so if you look at our agenda, It was so shitty. When I told him during a coaching session that I needed help with class management, he forced me to stand up with my hands behind my back and speak in a low voice to practice very sternly addressing my class. What the fuck? I told him I was not comfortable doing that in front of him. It was awkward. He told me I had to. He kept critiquing my posture and how low my voice was. I'm a 5'1" woman. I ended up crying in the meeting, and he did not apologize or address it. It was just time to move on in the agenda. This is really sad and insane. When the year progressed and one of my colleagues quit once she became certified, I emailed HR to ask them if they could help me navigate the NYC cert process and never got a response. I've seen that a lot, where charter schools will hire uncertified teachers so that they can pay them less and then like gatekeep certification information from them. And you'd think as a principal, you would want your teachers to have the most credentials possible and the most qualifications possible. You know what I mean? Like, that's logical. That's what you would want. But no, you want to save money. The year progressed. One of my colleagues quit before she became certified. Instead, I got an immediate response from the VP asking me if I could chat about how I'd been doing, and from my coach who told me he appreciated my hard work and to skip PD and take the afternoon off. It's obvious that HR told them I'm looking for certification and this was a last-ditch retention effort. Like, why the fuck would you not want a certified teacher working at your school? Exactly. Glad we're on the same page. I worked in a charter school and can confirm. In the meeting with the VP, I told her that I'm very uncomfortable with the coach and that I'm overworked. She said we would all sit together and chat. That never happened, but the coach coincidentally started being more fake nice to me. It was still awkward. Then I found out that a coworker had made $56,000 and had the exact same experience as me. This person was making $53,000 if you just joined. She taught more class sections, but given that I was doing way more than what they initially hired me for, I put together my case to ask for a raise. I was denied because I didn't teach enough sections. I told them I missed English and would happy to teach 2 more elective sections, maybe creative writing class. It was ignored for about a month until I complained to HR. That HR never responded to me. When my coworker quit, I had to teach history for an entire month with no notice, which is absolutely insane. I was told I would not have to plan or grade, that the department chair would, but I ended up doing these things on top of my own sections and additional subbing. Instead of the raise I asked for, I got a $500 Visa gift card as a thank you. Couldn't use it on rent or anything useful. God, this school is not normal or okay. Charter schools in Baltimore aren't allowed to do this. That's good. Good for Baltimore. Good. I'm glad. Sometimes some states do some things that are good, which is dope. The one straw that broke my back is when we were called into a random mandatory staff meeting. My team joined the Google Meet all together in the same classroom on a shared computer. We were told that a student brought a weapon to school, and after posting photos of it on social media, they said that no direct threats were made. It would not specify the weapon. The principal said not to worry because kids do this for clout. It's worth mentioning that there is gang activity in the area and students will show up in the school decked out in all red. I can only hope it was to look cool, that they aren't truly getting involved because I love them and they're just babies. That's how I would feel. Sometimes kids would do stuff and I'd be like, are you trying to be cool? Is this real? This doesn't seem like that on brand for you in terms of like you're not a person that I would be concerned that would be violent towards another person. Like sometimes I would be confused about that and it's hard to know when to say something and when not. Admin expressed that the students cried when he was caught. He was being suspended and we need to figure out how to help the students love themselves. Okay. A student brought a weapon to school after posting it on social media, and our priority is how do we make the students love themselves? Like, is this principal high at a Fleetwood Mac concert? Like, why was that your first thing that you thought of? I was shocked and my blood was boiling. I pride myself on being professional, but once we logged off the meeting, I asked my awkward coach what kind of weapon it was, and he said, I'm not at liberty to say. Is this the CIA? They need to have more love for each other. I assumed it was a gun, and I think my team assumed this too, so I said, I'm not coming to school tomorrow unless you're transparent with us because I don't feel safe. Good for you. Good for you. He said, let's chat privately. The group isn't the best place to talk about this. I said that I don't need to talk privately. I need the staff to not be in the dark about these things. The social worker said I shouldn't be worried because no direct threats were made, and I said posting photos of guns is a huge sign of possible violence, and she said they usually just make threats. That's just not true. The posting of the gun itself is a threat. I was being completely gaslit, and it pissed me off, especially in a neighborhood where people are shot and in a country where there are school shootings. Schools are a mess. A student did that at my school and was caned the next day in class. Yeah, different schools, like, it's crazy how different every single school is. Nah, bro, it's a gun. They're trying to keep that shit quiet. Real shit. Yeah, exactly. That's not a normal thing to do. I also, like, our country is really behind. Not even our country, like most countries are really, really behind in like legislation around kids and social media, because that's such a hard line legally of like, if a kid posts something on social media but it wasn't posted at school and it wasn't posted about the school and things like that, it's like, where is that, you know? Go girl for wanting everyone to be aware. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Jessica, who's a founding 1 month subscriber. Thank you. I was a junior in high school for Columbine. It's only worse now. That's such BS, not just showing off. Yeah, that's exactly. Okay. Then the superintendent emailed us saying it was a BB gun and that we all need to show up to work tomorrow and put on happy faces. Maybe therapy instead. They said if they had said it was a goddamn BB gun, no one would have freaked out as much. I don't think it was a BB gun, personally. I think that was a lie, because if it was a BB gun, they would have just said that and it wouldn't have been a thing. Because if a kid posts a photo of a BB gun, at least anywhere I've worked, that wouldn't be a thing. It'd be like, a kid posted a photo of a BB gun. Okay, you know, like, I don't care if it was a Nerf gun, to be honest. Yeah, very weird. Because if someone does something offensive at school, does it apply? Yeah, it's social media is a tricky thing with kids in school about what is kind of like within the school's ability to do, what's not. I showed up the next day and one of the deputy superintendents asked to talk to me. We met and it felt like a disciplinary meeting. I was being put under scrutiny for being scared and upset about the idea of a gun in the school. She asked me why I got upset and how things made me feel, and then would gaslight me and be defensive. We didn't have all the information, so we couldn't say it was a BB gun. We only had 95% of the info, she said. She also said that I need to not take my frustration into the classroom, that I was shocked at the coddling of this kid in this meeting, and she said that we're a restorative school and kids make mistakes. This is after a student told me that he makes pornos, and when I was told he would be reprimanded because of sexual harassment, nothing happened, and I was told, remember, who our scholars are now is not who they will always be. That's true. Who a kid, F no, baby, oh my God, with the F. Who a kid is now is not who they will be. However, you need to do things to make them better. They're not just going to get better from you ignoring it. You know what I mean? Like, you need to have conversations about like why that's not okay. And like, that's how they get better. You know what I mean? He was deaf, some kind of super important person. Yeah, who knows? I don't know. I asked the deputy superintendent why I was in this meeting because I did not feel like it was necessary and I was ready to move on. She said, your colleagues saw you, so we had to follow up. Pretty much insinuating that I made a scene and should be embarrassed for walking out / asking questions. I was humiliated in this meeting and could not believe I was receiving a talking to about reacting to a gun in school. That's wild. Like, any reaction is understandable. Like, you weren't violent towards anyone. You didn't have any type of outburst. You didn't even do anything in front of students. Like, I don't see why you expressing stress and anxiety is like in any way, shape, or form not okay. You know what I mean? She even said, don't say we thought it was a gun. I said, I thought it was a gun because your colleagues did not agree with you, which is utterly untrue. One of my colleagues is from Newtown, Connecticut, and the meeting was very, very upsetting for her. I walked out of the meeting and immediately wrote my resignation. Good for you. Good for writing your resignation. We love boundaries. I left on February 19th. That's the day after I left. My last day was February 18th. Not so fun fact. It was extremely painful to say goodbye to some students who I'd really connected with. I connected to the quiet kids and the queer kids who the school environment really does not support, kids saying queer slurs. When I mentioned we needed to address this, I was told that I need to remember that I am white / not from New York, and it's culturally ingrained / give them grace. That's also a tricky topic, but like, that's not an excuse. Like, you still have to make that a safe environment for everybody. It's just going to make it a harder conversation to have if it's something that's really normalized in a community to speak that way. Like, it just makes it a harder conversation, but it's still like, you can still have that conversation, you know? I cried hugging a kid goodbye and I tear up thinking about it. I still think about and miss him and the other quiet / queer kids, and I don't think they're possibly getting the support they need. The real kicker is that they were in my advisory and the boisterous / fake coach of mine is taking over my advisory. This, just because it's normal doesn't make it okay. Yeah, exactly. But once I quit, I became my old self. Before quitting, my borderline was getting so bad that I was getting suicidal ideation. I was bringing my anger home with me and taking it out on my partner and became an absolute monster. I had planned to do intensive outpatient treatment over February break, but I didn't realize how not okay that was until I quit. I finally submitted my certification application, and I'm officially a substitute teacher for both the charter agency and the public schools with $190 per day and a 7-ish hour workday with prep and lunch, so like 4 to 6 hours of student facing time. That was my day, roughly. I'm making about the same pay at my old job that literally made me want to kill myself, and with that job, I worked 9 hours per day. My family and partner are telling me they're proud of me. It's so nice to be out of that situation, and so far, I'm having fun subbing with different age groups and exploring different areas of New York. That's awesome. I think if you move to a new city, being a sub can be like a great job because it takes you to a lot of different parts of the city, which is like, it's just always good to explore the area you live in. By the way, the graduation rate they boasted was for elementary schoolers from their system who moved on to different high schools. Interesting. So many statistics are lies. So many data is lies in school. So many test scores are lies. Shout out to the person that submitted this. I know you're like in the chat. I'm assuming you're still in here. I'm proud of you. I'm very proud of you for this. My fucking high school has not graduated a class yet. I was a founder. I'll still be screening at my class's graduation in 2 years, though. I might apply to be a classroom teacher in a public school for the next school year. Might explore other things. When I saw you left your job, was the right time to quit mine. Thank you for being so transparent, for giving other teachers a platform. Thank you, Gas Station Gatorade. Gas Station Gatorade is the best Gatorade. I don't know if that's why that's your username, but the blue one with like the top that twists, like the nipple top, that's the best one. That is the best one. This was a good ending. I love these that have a good ending. Love that for us. Like how I said, I was going to be faster, and I'm just like taking a ton more time. I'm having fun though. It's not us, it's her. I'm a college sophomore, but I'm still traumatized by my 8th grade math teacher. She was known for playing favorites, which seemed to be barely anybody in my class. I was a common core 8 while all of my favorites were in pre-algebra, and she would just like scream at students who literally did anything wrong. The number of times I cried in that class was probably the most out of anyone. She had that one illness by name I'm blanking on at the moment, but it's make your bones break easily, so she wouldn't let anyone bring their backpacks into her room, so we all had to lug our stuff to her class. I got Fs both semesters, but wasn't the only one alone in that. There were literally so many people failing her class, more than the entire class size, that the school had to get us all in online school math programs that would raise our grades from an F to a D. Thinking back on this now, I want to throw hands with her, but really the school should have taken a step back and saw that so many of our students were doing poorly compared to other teachers' classes. Yeah. This is like, admin should have noticed that, should have done something about that. Maybe it was the teacher herself as opposed to so many students. The bitch still works there to this day. Don't love the use of bitch, but I get it. It's personal. I feel it. I've called people a bitch when they deserved it. To this day, and still infuriates me as someone who was in college to become a teacher myself. If only districts and school board focused more on good employee retention as much as they focused on a bunch of students from one teacher's class failing. This is from Southern California. Let me catch up with the chat a little bit. Geez, I feel awful that there are 4 students at risk of failing my class. How the fuck does she just let half our students fail? I would feel so guilty for failing kids that had good attendance. When a kid skipped class all the time, I would put that F in with no remorse, because like, if you're not going to be here, I don't know what to tell you. Like, obviously I'd like reach out to them and be like, are you alive? But like, I don't understand how teachers can have a whole class of failing kids. That's just crazy to me. Okay, this one's about nepotism. Nepotism is when you like get something because of your family or whatever. Like if I got a job because of my mom, that'd be nepotism, which I've done many times. I've committed many nepotisms. I was a freshman during the 2020 to 21 school year. My school offered virtual and in-person options due to COVID. I decided to use virtual for my first 9 weeks. During this time, I didn't do much in any of my classes, especially Algebra 1. I'd never had any personal interactions with Algebra 1 teacher, Miss B. I was starting to attend in-person classes again for the second 9 weeks. I was once an AB student, now getting Ds and Fs. In order to pass the semester, I worked very hard and brought all of my grades up. However, Miss B still continued to show a high level of dislike towards me and my classmates. I don't know if this was because we were her first class of the day or because some of us didn't turn in our work on time. She made the whole class/grade feel very uncomfortable and was rude to all of us. This included giving us speeches at the beginning of class almost every day, telling us why we would never go anywhere or do anything, that we were all pathetic and should be ashamed of how we worked, and that we were just downright stupid. Multiple complaints were filed against her through the school and Department of Human Services. This led to her slowing down on hammering us. However, no real action was taken to my knowledge. I assume this is because her dad is an administrator and her mother was our geometry teacher. Her dad was a highly favored by our superintendent, there it is, and was personally brought to our school district by him, even though at his previous school, oh Jesus, he had been caught touching many female students' butts and continued to do so at our school, along with sexual/inappropriate remarks. Holy shit. Oh, someone said they can't do Monday or Wednesdays because when you have night school, so you're happy that it's a Tuesday. Maybe I'll start doing that more often. Maybe I'll start rearranging it some. My physics teacher has more kids with terrible grades this year than normal, and everyone's struggling that our guidance counselor is getting concerned. COVID fucked up my education. It makes me really sad. I'm really sorry. Like, I feel so much empathy for kids that got fucked by COVID. I really think it's so sad. Yeah, this story is insane. Let's continue. Even before Miss D, I'm assuming you meant Miss B, typo. Even before Miss B, my math grades were not the best. This teacher did not have the proper credential to teach math. Instead, she had a degree in administration and was moved up to vice principal the following year. Girl, what? We opened our books maybe twice and did book assignments like 3 to 4 times that whole year. If we asked for help, we were ignored. Instead, she would sit at her desk practicing Mary Kay presentations. Stop. I didn't read all of this one, so this is like me reading that for the first time. Imagine sitting at your desk as a teacher practicing Mary Kay presentations. For those of you that don't know, Mary Kay is like a makeup pyramid scheme. Like, it's a girl boss pyramid scheme fully. It's like the OG girl bosses. Like, Mary Kay's been around since before I was a kid. Everyone wants the pink Cadillac. If you sell enough stuff, you get a pink Cadillac. Like, they were the OGs to give away a car, but it's actually a car that's leased in your name, that's covered by the product you sell. And if you drop below a certain amount of product, you lose the car and you have to pay for it. Like, Mary Kay is a full pyramid scheme. Imagine supposed to be teaching math and then just being like, hi, we're going to talk about Mary Kay today. At your desk. Do you have no shame? Ugh. Most of the time we got to class and we would get the response, I'm too tired to teach, mood. And a movie would be put on and we would all sit on her couch or in her chair and play on our phones. This was every day, all sort of your thing. When we did do lessons, we would have to ask one of our other teachers to take the time out of lunch in order to teach us properly. The lessons we did were counting money so that my grade could work the concession stand. Interesting. In a zoo project where we found the square feet of exhibits and prices. So safe to say my grade was struggling was an understatement. Yeah, for real. Have some fucking decorum. I have some fucking decorum. We complained, our parents did as well. Nothing was ever done. She's a coach's wife. Also, while in algebra with Miss B, we were never allowed to say we did not understand this. Miss D didn't teach us this last year. Oh, these are 2 people. And that continues with my geometry class this year because my geometry teacher is also Miss B's mom. Bro, this school, it's in Arkansas. Bro, Arkansas be a mess. Like, that's where the Duggars are. If you live in Arkansas, I'm so sorry. All the moms on my childhood basketball team were Mary Kay women. One of my friends' moms when I was a kid was a Mary Kay woman. My mom loved Mary Kay products. She was never a girl boss, but she was bum. It's a family business, apparently. No. I love that because they're like, what do we want our family business to be? A restaurant? No. Consulting? No. Water sports? No. Doing people's taxes? No. Shadily running a school? Absolutely. That sounds like a perfect family business. Like, what's wrong with you? Okay, Missouri, more like misery. I'm a student at a large district in Missouri, and there's a lot of questionable things that go on here, but it's largely joked about or not talked about at all. For the most part, it's a good school, but I have a lot to share. Sources included because my English teachers taught me well. Oh my God, thank you. The rock pile. My school is across the street from a toxic rock pile. Right off the bat, I'm not loving this. It's incredibly common for kids to jog over for gym credit or sports practices. Many people believe our water is somewhat toxic. Because of this, students avoid drinking from the fountains, but we're all very desensitized to the rock pile now. I haven't opened this link. I'm so sorry if it's something terrible. I highly doubt it is. Francis Howell students suspect their illness is caused by radioactive waste. Jesus. In August, he was shot on school property by a stranger. It was outside the school hours while he was jogging around the track. He made a full recovery and is fine. He still teaches here, and it's never really brought up. When I was in middle school, my teacher had him, which probably affects my views on how it was handled. This is like, I'm in love with the titles. Shout out to Evie for the titles. This is like the Sims movie. Toxic rock pile. The toxic rock pile? Are you not familiar? Imagine getting hired at this school. Like, imagine living in another state and moving here to work at this school and then being like, oh, so there's the bathroom, there's the cafeteria, there's the toxic rock pile across the street, and then being like, oh, you didn't know the toxic rock pile? Yeah, it's a main staple of the community. So this teacher got shot. That's not good. Man gets 22 years for shooting Francis Howell teacher. He doesn't look like a nice guy. Very aggressive facial expression. There's another high school in our district that I have a story about. At 3:45 a.m., April 2019, through the door, it was allegedly said that they took 15 tabs of acid, and that's why it happens. Damn. It's big. You climb up for it for gym and field trips. Hey guys, we're going to the Toxic Rock Pile on a field trip today. Welcome to the Toxic Rock Pile. Welcome to the field trip. There's another high school in our district, blah, blah, blah. I already read this. Cannot confirm if this is true, but this is what I heard at the time of the student. This is bad, but what's arguably worse is that they did not have a front door for ages. Even when they went back in August 2019, they still had no front of the building. Is that allowed? I don't think that's allowed. And also 15 tabs of acid. Did he die? Psychedelics are not my thing. They're not my jam. They very much scare me. I've never done any of them, and I'm terrified because I'm anxious and I know it would be a bad time for me. But 15, I don't know that much about it, but I think that's too much. I thought like 1, 2 was kind of the standard. 15. How'd they even get in the car? So COVID, my school has been garbage. This school year we had 0 mask mandate for the whole time, except for the 4 weeks after winter break. We got a cease and desist from the Attorney General. Jesus. Last school year we had mandates as long as a kid had a mask near them. It wasn't really enforced. Noses and mouths were always out. Contract tracing was diligent first semester, and second semester almost non-existent. In school quarantine, you had to go to school but couldn't go anywhere else, including sports. What's the logic there? Is that like COVID won't catch you if you're learning? If your brain is working hard enough and fast enough, the COVID can't get you. Science, obviously. Where was I? Many of my classes were behind, despite the fact that we had almost... Oh, wait, I missed a spot. Sorry, I can't read. I also got new contacts that are like kind of throwing me for a loop a little bit. Not to mention there's no expectation for mask in band class, despite there being numerous instrument coverings that have came out since the start of COVID. I was online first semester because my students chose. Many of my classes were behind, despite the fact that I take almost exclusively AP classes. My AP Chem was by far the worst, and I had to stay after 1 to 2 times per week. Once I went back to put in so much effort just to catch up. We also had no resources or social life online. It made me low-key depressed. Another guy I know was online first semester, in person second. We were talking after chem tutoring. He experienced the same thing. Classes were silent, cameras off and muted. It was just lonely and no one cared. It also made it so that when I skipped school from the honor roll just like 3 times, though my GPA is well over 4.0, I don't know how it happened, but I was never invited to honor roll celebrations unless I personally hunted down the teacher in charge. That's... Ugh. I also I hated COVID so much, like teaching in like Zoom universe because of COVID is what I mean. Because like I knew the kids were depressed. I knew cameras off and no one's talking. But then also if I forced you to turn their cameras on, that's like anxiety inducing. If I forced you to talk, that's anxiety inducing. But if no one's talking, then no one wants, like it was just like a loop of like terribleness. And I hated it so much because I just like didn't know what to do. And I didn't know like how to make it better because it just sucked. You know, it was awful. Pay student teachers. This isn't as much unethical as it is just a rant. It's a rant about something unethical, so it counts. Currently, I'm a student teacher, and it just baffles me how everyone who doesn't know that student teachers don't get paid. We are doing a full-time job and are strongly encouraged to not have a side job. I got a place an hour from my placement, meaning I drive an hour both ways to student teaching 5 days a week. I have no job right now and gas is so high. I refill my tank 3 times a week, $50 each time. God, all my savings are being drained to zero. Savings that I worked my ass off for my entire life, and I'm doing this to go to work at a $40,000 salary job for the rest of my life. I will never financially recover, and that's insane to me. It's absolutely insane and really not okay. Okay, no curriculum, no problem. I was in my first year teaching. I was hired to teach social studies and English language arts, but got switched to science, which is fine, except all my new teacher training was on the wrong curriculum. We had new curriculum for science that was being written that year, wasn't even finished, and we were a quarter behind. 4th quarter curriculum was never even finished, so I just did my thing, but the writers not finishing didn't keep them from assessing the students on all the standards they had planned to cover, counting it towards my evaluation. Sounds about right, and I would bet money that curriculum writing company still got their fucking bag. They still got paid. They still got their check. I bet that's exactly what happened. Okay. My mom worked in the behavioral department at my elementary school, and there was a kid who threatened to stab them constantly and would physically attack them. When my mom would go to the principal saying that he needed support that they could not provide, he would just say that they needed to learn to do their job better. Ugh. It was mainly because the principal didn't want to deal with anything or be sending kids outside the district. He did this with multiple kids who needed more support, instead just forced them into regular classrooms. That principal was entirely useless because when he finally retired, things got a lot better, even though there were definitely still issues. A list of things that we have not been able to rely on this year: Wi-Fi, printer paper, toners, printers, copiers, heat, water bubblers, that's water fountains for those of you that don't live there, hot water substitute positions, mental health support, safety protocols, voicemail, special education teachers, nursing staff, buses, bus driver positions, tissues, our own mental health. We are drowning. We walk around the building with a heavy weight dragging all of us down. This isn't recognizable to the job I started 15 years ago. Unrecognizable. This is from Lowell Public Schools. That's one thing that like a lot of veteran teachers really showed me, is they were like, it did not used to be this way. All of them would tell me, like, if I was working, if I was starting in these conditions, I would have left. This is absolutely batshit crazy. Like, it's really getting worse. Okay, this is kind of a long one, so bear with me. All right, when I was told that I should be teaching, come back. Well, I was a computer teacher in elementary school. I started at the end of January after being dragged along since October when I was offered a job that I had applied for as a tutor. I was told that I would have to take half the pay they offered originally because I wasn't a certified teacher, even though I had a degree in teaching and had passed all my certification tests. Weird. The last step in the process was the school that is hiring will pay for you to be fingerprinted, and once that clears you, you will get your certification. That doesn't seem like a terrible plan, you know? But the school told me that they don't do that, and I was uncertified, and that they are insisting they're going to pay me half of the original salary advertised. It's actually not a good plan. Sorry. It's not a good plan because now schools are preventing, I immediately know what's about to happen. Schools are preventing teachers from getting certified so that they can save money. I lied. That's not a good plan. It's a very bad plan, actually. But the school told me they don't do that, and I was uncertified. They were going to pay me half. I called the State Department of Education, and they said I was right and that the school was supposed to fingerprint me. I found information on the Department of Education website and forwarded it to the principal and told her that it was her job to fingerprint me, and that's how I finished the certification process and get the certification. She insisted that that was not the way it worked and that I was not certified and couldn't be paid more. I eventually learned that I could pay for it myself, so I paid for my own fingerprinting and then had to wait between the end of October to the middle of January for my fingerprinting to go through and clear. Then in January, the principal called me and said they had another job available because they'd already filled the job they originally offered me. The job was to be a computer teacher, but they hadn't told anyone in the school they were hiring a computer teacher to replace the art teacher who had quit suddenly before winter break. So I came in on my first day at work. I talked to the secretary and said, I'm the new computer teacher. And she said, we don't have a computer teacher. And I was like, what? And then everyone I talked to asked me who I was, and I told them I'm your new computer teacher. And they said, we don't have a computer teacher, because she had not told anyone they were getting rid of art and putting computers in as a class in the middle of the year. Bro, if administrators are allergic to one thing, it's communicating. Teachers used to do polls all the time on Zoom to make sure we were paying attention. Yeah, I used to be hitting them with those polls. I'm surprised he was able to come back to reality. That's insane. Oh, sorry. Someone's having a conversation. Welcome to Nightville vibes. I'm like behind in the chat. 15. That's a long trip. Oh, yeah. We're talking about the dude on acid. Sorry. I got behind. Then I was told I should be teaching digital citizenship and given no materials, no curriculum, no direction. So I just Googled stuff about digital citizenship and taught that on my own. Then after about 2 months, they said, have you been teaching digital citizenship through the online thing? And I said, what are you talking about? And then I was told that I was supposed to be able to access these digital citizenship units through the district and that kids were supposed to go through these materials. And then they tried to act like I was dumb when I said it didn't work and I couldn't log into it, but it was password protected and no one had the password. Of course, no one had the password. There was also a second grader who had a lot of behavior issues and really struggled every day. He was moved to a different classroom in February, and then his mom was tired of hearing from the special teachers about something wrong he'd done, and because I had never called there, because I just got hired, they decided that every day during specials times he would come into my classroom instead of going to PE or music. I would see this kid 5 days a week instead of him just going to other specials. Can you say unethical as fuck? And then schools got shut down for COVID and it never happened. I'm kind of grateful for the part of COVID because I was dreading coming back from spring break. I think a lot of people have toyed with this of like being grateful for COVID, like not being grateful for COVID, but being grateful for like not having to do something or not having to be a part of something or not having to go to work. And like, I know a lot of people are looking back on like early quarantine and they're like, damn, that's when I was like the healthiest and at like the most peace. No one had the password. That's when I was at like the most peace, is when I wasn't having to go to work. So I think it's an interesting emotion to have. I feel the same way. After about 3 weeks of working there, I learned the principal announced to other people, not to me, that she was moving to a new school and would be phasing in another principal for the rest of the school year. So he started his new first-time principal job about 3 weeks before COVID. Bro, I bet this principal knew about COVID. Joking. Like, that principal saw COVID and was like, let me get up out of here. Let me get all the way the fuck up out of here. all the way up out of here. Capitalism. Literally, why do I have early quarantine nostalgia? Same. I'm so thankful for my admins after hearing these stories. Good. I'm glad you have good admin. That's a rarity. Cherish them. I used to fantasize about having heart attacks or getting into car accidents because I'd have an excuse not to go to work. Been there. Okay, this one's called "And Stay Out of the Closet." I was a new elementary school teacher. Halfway through the school year, we had to do active shooter drills. We went through 30 minutes PD day about the drill, about what to do. No mention of how to explain the importance of being quiet and still so we don't die to elementary schoolers. That seems like the most important thing to talk about. Interesting. During the PD, they said if there's a closet in your room, you should go into that closet with your students. I realized there was a closet in my new classroom, but it was locked and I didn't have a key to it. So I asked my principal, hey, where's the key to this closet? Can I have a key to this closet in my own classroom? She told me, I don't know about that. And then turned around and started talking to someone as if we weren't in the middle of a conversation. So then I had to go ask someone, and they unlocked the door for me, but said they didn't know where the key was to the closet. So if there was an active shooter, they could just open the closet for me because I had no way to lock it. And then 2 days later, I saw the closet locked again. I really did not want my classes to be safe during They really did not want my classes to be able to be safe during an active shooter situation. What I want to know is, did you look in the closet and what was in it? The experience of COVID made everyone a candidate for therapy. I just went to therapy. Literally like a few minutes ago, I finished therapy. Oh my God, how is it already 9:20? Okay, virtual nightmare. I'm a second-year teacher. For this school year, I'm the grade level chair and the science department chair at my middle school. A few weeks before the school year started, my principal emailed me saying that the virtual academy in my school was running needed a science teacher for 6 to 8 until permanent teachers could be found, and put my name in. He asked if I would be willing to do it, but he already put my name in for the district, so it was less of a question, instead basically telling me to do so. I was told I would be compensated. I was still teaching my in-person students and expected to teach the virtual academy during my planning period. This meant I had no planning periods to plan and had to do all the planning outside of contract hours. I never signed a contract, realized too late how big of a red flag that should have been, and was never told how much I would be compensated. I figured I would find out when I got my first paycheck at the end of the month. My first paycheck came and it did not include anything on top of my regular salary. I emailed our office telling them I would be quitting if I was not compensated. They scheduled a meeting with me and others in person for the next week. In that meeting, they told us they had just been approved to pay us $500 a month for our work in virtual academy. This is much less than what teachers would end up being paid to cover classes. They told us this is competitive for the area, as the rest of the virtual academy teachers in our region were being paid just $200 a month. We accepted this mostly because they told us they were interviewing candidates for the position, so we'd assume we'd not be working much longer in this capacity. We still never signed a contract. I continued teaching, did not hear anything for months. At the beginning of November, I had a panic attack during one of my classes. I was able to leave the room after getting my AP to cover my class. I ended up getting the help I needed from the school nurse and then from my GP, general practitioner, doctor, I think. I resigned my position to the virtual academy. It was adding too much to my plate and I had no time to myself. When the virtual academy admin was told I was resigning, they reached out and asked me to leave lesson plans for the remainder of the semester, 2 months of that time. I told them I could not, as I was incredibly overwhelmed and had no time to complete this task. It's important to note that I work in North Carolina, which is considered a right-to-work state, which means we have no teachers' unions. It was also not until the end of November that teachers who had been told to cover classes during their planning period were given any form of compensation. They were told they would be giving $40 for each class they covered. When we finally got our paychecks for covering classes, it was only $25 after taxes. Leave the lesson plans for the rest of the semester. Yeah, that shit got me too. Like, what are you on? Absolutely fucking not. Okay. The title of this one is okay. I was a special teacher in my first year teaching, and one day the PE teachers were putting on a field day for the kids. I was outside with one of my stations for the field day, and a kindergartner had gotten into trouble and was told by another teacher to sit on the side of the basketball court. I noticed him sitting there and was keeping an eye on him while also watching the kids at my station, and then switched stations with somebody else and was no longer in that area, so I assumed that she would be watching him. Then kindergarten field day was ending. They were all lining up and going inside when I saw that kid had scooted behind some bushes and was hiding from everyone. As I was going to get him, his teacher came and grabbed him and assumed that because I was walking over, it was my fault as the new teacher and he had been hiding from everyone and that I had sent to sit him out and it was my responsibility to watch him. Even though I didn't make him sit out, I was on the other side of the baseball field after we had switched stations. The kindergarten teacher proceeded to berate me in front of her students for 10 minutes about how it was my responsibility to watch him. Anything could have happened. Kids like this will get you into trouble. You're going to have issues if you're not paying attention when you send kids to sit out. He could have run away. She told me some long story about how she got in trouble as a new teacher because a kid fell asleep in her class. She didn't notice, left for lunch, left the kid sleeping, yada, yada, yada. I was not going to argue with her in front of her class. I told her that I was not the one that made him sit out. I was just watching him while I was at a station in this area. She ignored what I said, continued to berate me. So I just stood there and listened to her for 10 minutes. I didn't say a word, and then when she was done, I said, okay, and walked away from her. Good. Toward the end of the school year, I ran into her in the hallway, and she was talking about something she wanted to do next year, hoping I would be there, and I told her I actually got into graduate school and we'd be moving to another state in another part of the country. She tried to convince me that I shouldn't go to graduate school and that I should stay in the city we lived in and go to a university in our city. I told her they don't offer the program I wanted to go at that university, and she told me that I could find a different program so that I could stay in the town where we were in and continue working at this elementary school. For what? I'd been trying to get into graduate school for 3 years, and it's none of her business where I go to school and what I study because I barely knew her. We also had school-wide staff meetings on Zoom after COVID started, and she sent chat messages telling people not to touch their faces while they were on Zoom in their own homes. Oh my God. This is awful. You can fill in, right? I work as a specials teacher in an elementary school starting in January. On my first day, they told me to stay with the substitute who had been covering the class since the original teacher left. I was supposed to follow her around, learn the schedule, find my way around the school, and meet the kids. But then they said they needed someone to cover in-school suspension. So my first day as a teacher was spent covering in-school suspension. Jesus, why couldn't an administrator do it? That's always my question. What was preventing an administrator from popping their laptop into that room and covering that in-school suspension? You can do all your office work from in there, can you not? I've talked to them about this. Hold on. The kids were super sweet, but they were two kids who apparently weren't supposed to have any contact with each other, and they'd gotten into a fight, and we were in-school suspension alone together, which made no sense. I talked to them about it. I had them talk with each other to figure out what happened and how they can prevent this in the future. You're literally going above and beyond, like truly above and beyond, because they were in the same classroom and they were going to have to interact at some point. Halfway through the day, I was told they needed to fill out some forms where they talk about what they did and write about how they can do better. Halfway through the day, oh wait, this is like in there twice, right? Yeah. These were fourth graders who also had full days worth of classwork that had been given to them. And they were supposed to finish, so I let them write short answers in response to these questions in a form that they were given halfway through the day. Then a random woman came into the classroom, was annoyed that I was in her classroom, even though that is where admin had put me because they said it was an empty room. Then she tried to correct me for not having the kids write enough and scolded me in front of them. She started talking shit about other teachers and other students in front of these two kids who were in school suspension. Then she asked me what I was teaching. I told her that I was a new computer teacher replacing the art teacher who had quit. Wait, is this the same thing? Interesting. No, she doesn't. She definitely quit. They just hired me to replace her. This woman left the classroom and came back and said, oh, she's still here. I just saw her in her classroom. Like, literally, no, she didn't. That's a substitute. She tried to convince me that I didn't know what my own job was, and someone who had quit her job over a month ago before was still in the classroom because she saw a different person in the room. She also got mad at me for not logging into a computer to project a clock onto the screen when I didn't have any way to log into the computers because it was my first day working there, and got basically annoyed at everything I said to the kids because she didn't like how I had built a rapport with them and was not treating them like criminals because they're literally 9-year-old children. She also yelled at the girl who was in school suspension because she had a tank top underneath a see-through shirt. Keep in mind, this is a 9-year-old. Why are we sexualizing 9-year-olds? And I hadn't yelled at her for it the whole day. Literally, I could not have cared less. So this woman felt it was up to her to yell at this girl for wearing a tank top underneath a see-through shirt at 1 p.m. when the girl was already in school suspension. Jesus Christ. This is so bad. Psychic Sarah Psych, I'm here for the chaos. Thank you. And thank you for the follows. I see Melly Lynn, DVR 1289, Ornamental Hermit. I love my Dylan was a while ago. Oh, why am I so stuffy every day of my life? Are you smarter than an AP? At the end, another Orange County one. Lots from Orange County. That's like Orlando, right? Let me look up Orange County. Orange County. It's Orlando. Bro, teaching in Florida is the Wild West out here. It truly is. We are truly suffering every day of our lives. Yeah, it's like the southern part of Orlando is Orange County. Interesting. It's the 5th most populous county in Florida. Okay. At the end of the 20 to 21 school year, you had to print out all your final grades and go through them with your assistant principal line by line to see if students had the knowledge to be getting a higher grade. If you said, yeah, this child literally knows nothing, they virtually signed into class and watched Netflix the whole time, they asked how you knew that and then what you had done in order to change that. They essentially forced teachers to give C's in order to change DF data coming out of our school. So many times I've seen that happen. Teachers get pressured into raising grades. Dade, what county is Jacksonville in? Who remembers the leggings dress code? Yeah, there are a lot of Orange County ones. Oh my God, it's already 9:30, so I might not be able to get through all of these tonight. How many more do we have? Well, that's like kind of a lot. We're going to try. We're going to try to get through it. Let me focus. Okay. I started subbing in Chicago public schools in 2018. Since then, I've become a long-term sub, then a teacher. Now I'm back to 2-a-day subbing. There's more to the story, but we don't have time for that right now. Submit it. We'll have time for it later. I'm not from Chicago, so in the early days, I walked into a lot of the schools not knowing what to expect. This is by far my worst story. I took a sub position from a 9th grade history teacher at a STEM school. I walked in and discovered the teacher I'd been subbing before left the position months prior. He became an AP, and these poor kids had random people every day since. The admin gave subs an assignment, which consisted of students reading a chapter and answering fun questions at the end of it. Also, these classes were rather large, and it was a block schedule. For several periods, every chair was used, and I check IDs before students came in so to know that they were supposed to be there. My school had that too. Kids had to wear their ID around their neck, and you were supposed to check it before they came into class to make sure that they had their ID on them, and if they didn't have their ID, you were supposed to send them to in-school suspension. I never did it. Not one time did I send a kid to in-school suspension for not having an ID. But like, what in the school to prison pipeline is that shit? They have to have an ID to enter the classroom hanging around their neck. They have to have their number literally plastered on their body. That's disgusting to me. And when I would bring it up in meetings, I'd be like, that's disgusting that we do that. They'd be like, you're insane. And they would just gaslight me and be like, it's so normal. And they would tell me that I was problematic because I was like against safety measures, which is insane. Okay. Let's focus. First thing I noticed is when I walked in the door is that the desks were everywhere. Oh, I do want to say, however, if I was a sub, I might feel differently about the ID thing because, you don't know the kids, so you want to make sure there's not randos in there. I do understand, like, making them identify themselves. Just random clumps of desks and some were in rows and up against a wall. During my first prep, I rearranged the desk into rows. Second thing was a giant gang symbol written in marker on the wall behind the teacher's desk. I wrote my name on the board and tried to put on a happy face for the students. First period came in, was pretty chill and very late. Usually first period is chill and quiet because they're sleepy. As the day went on, things got progressively worse. Students were screaming, shouting, playing loud music with swear words, throwing things. They also had not been receiving grades for the assignments, so many flat out refused to do the work, which, like, you can't even blame kids for that. Like, if they aren't receiving grades for their work, I wouldn't do it either. What kind of dangers does a lack of ID cause? They would always say, like, what if there's a shooting, and then how are we going to identify which kids are students and who's an intruder and who's a student? And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, most school shootings are done by a student of the school. Like, it just didn't make sense to me. It was so that we could know who was supposed to be in the school. But I don't even get that. During one of the later periods, I had a group of guys kind of sitting near the back. As I was walking around, I noticed they were watching something on someone's phone. I was across the room at the time, so I asked them to put it away and kept it moving. As I was moving around, I hear one of them start to say my name over and over again. Sorry, saying isn't quite right. He was moaning my last name and talking about what he would do to me in bed. Jail. I'm joking. Don't send a child to jail. But that's not okay. Saying isn't quite right. I was mortified. I told him to knock it off and moved a little closer to the group to try and redirect them. That's when I figured out they were watching porn on their phones. The kid kept up the sexual comments until I finally called security. I felt so gross having to explain what was going on. Security took him for like 10 minutes and then brought him back. He started acting out again, shouting, trying to fight other kids. Using inappropriate language, I called security again. They did the same thing and brought him back. What's with the bringing the kids back? Oh, the chat is stuck again. Let me fix it. Let's examine why there's such a high probability of school shootings. We only used IDs for school events. Yeah. It's like, there's so much stupid shit in schools. The IDs, it's the everything, Let me fix the chat. Sorry, besties. Save. Thanks. Now it says 0 viewers again. It always stresses me out when it does that because I think like my internet died or something. All right, luckily the class period was almost over, so we survived, but I've never felt more embarrassed and gross in my life. I told the admin, they were like, shrug, what are you going to do? The kids sexually harassed me and they did nothing. I will never return to that school. Valid. Oh man, I was going to shoot up the school, but they checked my ID. Literally. I was like, okay. I'm legit sad I didn't come in here earlier. Just saw your TikTok about the stream. Oh my God, it's okay. I'm streaming again tomorrow. Tomorrow's stream is about the history of Hawaii, and it's really good and really cool, and I put a lot of effort into it, and I think you're really going to like it. All right. So my first year teaching, I was often yelled at by other adults in the building. One memorable moment from when I was called over the intercom, I was lining up my fifth graders for lunch. I was at the front of the room. One of my administrators asked me to come closer to the intercom. She proceeded to yell at me over the intercom in front of my students because we were 2 minutes late to lunch. There were other things that bothered me about the school. For example, admin decided to close the boys' bathrooms for many weeks due to student fights and other dangerous behaviors. Instead of monitoring the bathrooms, they decided it was okay to tell the kids not to go to the bathroom from 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. That's literally illegal, I think. Another example is often walk down the hall, I would hear admin and teachers yelling to their classes to maintain student control. One teacher told me outright, you just have to yell at them to maintain classroom management. I was crying, driving to work and leaving work. I finally left that school mid-year due to mounting issues like constant student violence, fights, weapons, etc., admin abuse / incompetence, and other safety issues. That school broke me mentally. I felt guilty about leaving my students in a failure for many months. Then I would tell my friends about some of the things that happened. They could not believe this was happening in Boston. This was in 2019. Heard from my colleagues, nothing has changed and some things have gotten worse. Many of my teacher friends are now working in fields outside of education. We were told to change grades if we had a certain amount of Fs or if it wasn't a large amount, but even if it was, it's so unethical to randomly change a kid's grade just to meet a quota. Like, it's hard to fail as it is at my school. They asked us to think about if we didn't give a kid grace over something and maybe they deserved a better grade. I assure you my kids get grace from me, and if you're failing, it's because you refused to pick up a pencil. One of my colleagues refused to do it. I was too new, people paying, so I did it 1 year, and he was reprimanded. He quit. He was an outstanding teacher. Excuse us for having expectations, I guess. Sexual content warning on this one, inappropriate exposure, horrors of virtual school, yelling doesn't work. Yelling works temporarily. Yelling can work for a moment, but you're going to pay for it later. That's what I've learned. I've yelled, never bad. I've never really, really yelled, but I've raised my voice more than I would have loved to before, and it works in the moment. You pay for it later, though. Bitar and Melly Lynn, thanks for the follow. When I was a first-year teacher in the 20 to 21 school year, we were completely virtual. In October, I had a kid masturbate during class. I only knew because he turned his camera on that was up close and aimed on his genitalia. Luckily, none of the other students saw the way I had the meeting set up. Thank God you had it set up that way. I would not have. I don't even know how to do that. But I was totally traumatized. What made it worse is that his mom totally blamed me because he's so smart and was obviously bored because he's not being challenged enough. What the fuck? How did your child do that? And that is your response. My admin let her speak to me like a dog while I just sat there and feeling like this. That's my favorite emoji. Finally, the social worker stepped in and said something about how disrespectful she was being of me. It didn't help. My mentor teacher literally met with me 3 times the entire year. Despite being on the same grade level and team, I had to do everything by myself. The mother continued to treat me like the scum of the earth for the entire year. I constantly pulled 10, 13-hour work days that year. I ended up having a mental breakdown in March when hybrid teaching starting. A kid that did that in an in-person class in 2015? Jesus. Here's a meme that I made about this. Ha ha. Laugh. Funny. I love Parks and Rec. I miss it. It's like low-key propaganda, but it's funny propaganda. I was not the problem. I was a first-year teacher. I was struggling with classroom management at a middle school. My mentor teacher was trying to help, but things weren't working. I was crying every day after work. I talked to my fellow first-year teacher about what she did as I was seeking support from any teacher in the building that would listen. I tried her methods, sent a kid out that meant an F for participation, as she'd been reset several times. When she comes in, threw a pencil at me. I asked her, why'd you do that? Her grade for the day was already bad. Did she want me to call home too? Apparently she told the principal that I told the class she was failing. Now, I did apologize to her after class because maybe I spoke out of frustration, but my principal called me in on my prep and formally reprimanded me, wrote me up on my record, lectured me like I was a child in the principal's office. He said he didn't want to hear my excuses. I wasn't trying to talk, by the way. That was just said unprompted. He also decided that it was not okay, that he always heard me in the hallway. Why was I so loud? No need to raise my voice. Mind you, this man told me it was required to use a microphone, even though I told him I'm a loud person and don't need one. And my mentor teacher said she's never heard me raising my voice and yelling at kids. He did all this. I'm crying. And then at the end of the day, he still respected me as a teacher, though. I had to go to my last hour of the day like nothing was wrong. My administrators would do stuff like this, too. They would always say, like, I don't want to hear your excuses when I was trying to explain, like, a situation that went on. Hold on, let me approve this chat. The kid of a support staff person in my high school was caught having full-on sex in a classroom her freshman year and was not reprimanded in any way. God. Sorry about the auto mod. I was trying to be gross, just texting M redacted the horror story. It's okay. Here you go. I'm not being challenged, so I'm going to commit a sex crime, literally. I wish the auto mod was smarter. You know, like I wish it was better at telling like when it's just someone talking and when it's like serious. Come to the end of the trimester, I applied for opening at a high school. I got it, and the same principal was fighting to keep me there. Why would you want me to stay somewhere that made me feel so unsupported as a new teacher? Where was my warning before my write-up? Why was I not asked what I needed and why and what was tried already? I was yelled and written up. I did not stay. Those same students tormented me that came up to high school and literally said they were awful to me for no reason, that they hated that I left, so I was not the problem. Yeah, sometimes kids just do stuff like that because they're kids, and it's just sometimes what happens. I'm student teaching in Georgia, and the principal of my school keeps contacting the dean of my college to try and stop me from graduating. At first, it was for breaking dress code for wearing Disney. Did you guys see that girl on TikTok that got like kicked out of her teaching program for dress code, but like nothing she was wearing was even that bad? She's like dark hair. She has like a really happy voice. She's made like some travel videos and stuff like that too. She has a lot of followers. I don't remember what her username is. I tried sucking up to the principal and doing everything I can to please her. I genuinely think that she doesn't like me because I was so happy and actually want to help these children. She will come into the classroom that I'm in and just stare and frown at me and then leave. She's made me feel so miserable and uncomfortable. She's already been doing so much illegal and unethical things. I hate being at the school. I've repeatedly tried reporting abuse and neglect, and no one is taking it seriously. They just tell me that Department of Child and Family Services will not do anything. The teachers here hate the kids, and I just wish someone had cared about the children's best interest. Instead, they are more about getting me in trouble. Dress codes are bullshit. Yeah, they are. I follow her. I feel bad she was kicked out. Yeah, me too. Also, the craziest story of this is at the end, so shout out to those of you that have stuck around, all 71 of you. So glad you're still here. Love that for us. I'm a student teacher. This one's crazy too. I read this one like right before I did this. I'm a student teacher and everyone around me is doing everything illegally. I hate it, and in my heart I know it's wrong, but I'm getting graded by the people doing illegal stuff. My school has sheets for student behavior that get sent home every night. I am supposed to lie on these sheets saying that my students are bad and have hurt people all day so that the school gets more funding. These students are coming to school and telling me that they're getting spanked and punished at home for being bad, and they're trying the best that they can. Oh, someone put the @name in the chat. Thank you. My heart is breaking. I'm seeing these kids so upset, and I would be too if my teachers were straight up lying about me. I can't tell anyone because everyone, and I mean everyone at my school and university are in on it. They're all best friends, and they want more funding from the states. They're faking documentation at the student expense. I don't want any part of it, but I feel like I have to stay so I can graduate. That is literally so sad and heartbreaking. I hate that. Content warning, medical issues caused by a school, and grooming. Okay. This one's really, really wild. UTI can't take it anymore. I went into teaching as a double major in English and elementary education, 2 student teaching placements, and a dual certification for elementary and single subject English. Okay. Miss Certified and everything. Love that for you. My first teaching job was a first grade class. I'd like to think if I just had the usual BS, out of touch admin, lack of supplies, I could have handled it. But I was assigned to teach in Siberia, not literally, but my class was in a separate standalone building with its own fenced-in playground and lunch tables away from the other classes. I also want to know why you would ever build a school that way. For anyone who doesn't know, elementary students cannot legally be left alone, meaning anytime a teacher needs to leave the room for whatever reason, someone from admin or another teacher, usually a neighbor teacher who can stand between 2 classes and watch them both at the same time, has to watch the class. That's what I would do. My neighbor would watch my class. In my case, it meant I had to start my day 30 minutes before actual class time because that's when the school opened for kids, and I needed to be available to watch my kids in our fenced-in yard. It also meant that I had to monitor my kids while they ate and played during recess and lunch. This feels so illegal. I struggled every day to find coverage to use the bathroom. Other teachers tried to help, but they were often assigned lunch duty. I needed to use lunch for planning or had meetings during lunch. When I was called by admin to see if they could send someone, I was often told no one was available and that it'd be 45 minutes to an hour before someone was available. That's a ridiculous amount of time, 45 minutes to an hour to go to the bathroom. That's insane. I went from having 3 UTIs in my entire life to having 11 UTIs my first year. That is so bad. That's so bad to have that many UTIs. It got so bad that I was crying every morning as I drove to school, and my doctor wrote me a standing prescription for antibiotics so that I wouldn't have to take time off to see her. I was too afraid to rock the boat with my admin my first year, but when I was assigned the same classroom for my second year, I knew I couldn't go through another year of hell. I met with my principal to tell her I needed help, and will never forget what she told me. She told me I needed to manage my water intake better. That heinous woman essentially told me to stop drinking. That's batshit crazy that one of your teachers is having that many UTIs from the position that you put them in, and your advice is to manage your water intake better. You should be able to drink all the goddamn water you want. This is insane. I got 2 UTIs before I went to my principal again and basically threatened to sue. After that, things got better for a few months, but only lasted a few weeks into the spring semester when someone in admin went on maternity leave and another was out on medical leave, so the office was too short-staffed to find me bathroom coverage. I ended up getting another 3 UTIs, and then 2 weeks before the end of the year, I got really sick. I had a fever and horrible abdominal pain. I had a kidney infection and had to be hospitalized for more than 3 weeks. The infection spread to my blood, and I almost died. I have permanent kidney damage. You should sue. I absolutely would. I absolutely would sue if you have, like, the means to. Or see if you can get on like a class action. Okay, I couldn't handle the thought of being back at the school, so I called the superintendent from the hospital and was able to get out of my contract for the following year without any consequence. At least they did that for you. That's good that they got you out of your contract. The only time my principal reached out to me was the Monday after the school ended, and she called to ask when I would be able to clean out my classroom. One of your employees almost died, and your only question is when can you come clean out your classroom? If I was the principal, I would never have let this happen. But if somehow I was the principal in this situation, I literally would have gone in your room and meticulously taken everything down and labeled it and organized it and been like, where would you like me to drop this off? Or would you like me to store it in my home until you're ready to take it? Like, that's the appropriate action. By the time I had recovered enough, I ended up just letting the school keep or throw everything out that I had purchased so I didn't have to go back. By the time I recovered enough from the kidney infection, it was too late to find another teaching job. Spent the following year as a sub, which I was mostly happy about, except for having to move back in with parents because of money. Because it meant I didn't have to deal with the politics. Still wanted to be a teacher though, so I started looking for a permanent teaching position. I ended up finding a job teaching English in a high school. I was excited to be able to use my bathroom at work like a normal human. I worked 2 years without issues, got really good evaluations. In my 3rd year, they had me covering 4 AP sections and 1 honors section. Everything was great until I overheard one of the students in my senior AP class make a comment about another student. Not one of my students, but I knew who she was doing porn. I didn't ask about that student because I was pretty sure she wouldn't tell me. I decided to ask a student TA, teaching assistant I'm assuming, in my freshman honors class about it. She told me everything she knew, and it's insane. 2 sophomore students had been hanging out with / being groomed by a 23-year-old former student, and they sent him naked photographs. The 23-year-old then sent the photos to his brother, who was a senior, who then sent the photos to all his friends. I decided to talk to my principal before contacting CPS, Child Protective Services, so he would be aware that child porn was probably being shown or shared at school. I assumed he would be just as horrified as I was and would feel a moral and legal obligation to report this. Nope. As soon as I told him what was happening, he started talking about all the young lives that would be ruined. He said 2 sophomore girls would be prosecuted for making and distributing child porn, and all the boys that had text on their phone would be prosecuted for possessing it. He also told me that this would be terrible for the school if we were caught up in the scandal. He even said that there would be repercussions for me if it got out that I was responsible for students getting in trouble, which could only happen if he outed me because he was the only person I told. I need to drink this. Stressed about this situation, but I couldn't see any other option but to contact CPS. Shortly after, I was told that admin would be observing my class, reviewing my plans, and coming up with an improvement plan for me. When you try to report child pornography and then you get reprimanded at work? 2 years after a grade of evaluals and being bumped up to honors classes. Rather than letting the district manufacture a pretext to fire me in response to my resignation, the school had my license. I resigned rather than letting the district manufacture a pretext to fire me. In response to my resignation, the school had my license suspended. This is batshit crazy. I told y'all this was the craziest one, and you would be rewarded with insane shit for staying till the end. It's hard to describe the effect my teaching career had on me. On the one hand, it feels dramatic to say it almost ruined my life. On the other hand, I almost died and have permanent organ damage and diagnosed PTSD. Diagnosed PTSD, gang. And at no point did admin even show me basic human decency. I left teaching just before COVID happened because my health issues make me vulnerable to COVID. I wouldn't have been able to find full-time work that would allow me to work safely. Until I find a job again, I'm doing freelance work. I still believe education is crucial for young people in our country, but I cannot in good faith ever recommend anyone go into teaching. In my experience, schools don't protect students and often students or teachers and often inflict harm on them. Me wondering how your mental health is after reading all of that, because I would be deeply unwell. All right, we made it. That's all of them. Any questions? I'll hang out in the chat for a little bit. If you scan this QR code, it'll take you to the form. If someone could drop the link to the form in the chat, I would really appreciate that as well. I would really appreciate if someone could do that. I don't have, like, my computer's angry at me, so I don't want to have too many windows open, so I don't want to go find it. But if someone could drop it, I love that. This is really insane and really horrific. Oh, you missed it? It'll be live. So, like, I post them later. So once I end it, it'll be live on there. And I'm streaming again tomorrow. Tomorrow, we're talking about the history of Hawaii and, like, all the things that have gone on with that. Also, the link for this, like, used to be messed up. It's fixed now. I'm sorry. It was making you log into Google Drive, which I absolutely hate for us. Absolutely hate logging into Google Drive for us. But it should be working now and not making you log in. If you have, like, files you want to send me or screenshots, you can just email them to me. Let me put my email in the chat. Sorry, my mic is in the way. Thanks, DJ Carvey. Tomorrow I will be live at about, my chat is broken again. Tomorrow I'll be live at about 7:30, 7:45-ish, is usually the time I try and get on here at. Yeah, and it'll be Eastern time. I'm in Eastern time. So 7:30, 7:45-ish Eastern time. We're talking about how the U.S. literally stole Hawaii from the natives, and it was, like, really not okay. There's a lot of good memes in it. I need to watch tomorrow. I've been curious about history of Hawaii for a long time. Thank you, Jessica, for dropping the link in the chat. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Jessica NP. Thank you. All right, I'm going to get off of here. I need to eat some dinner. I'm going to go get McDonald's. This was awesome, per usual. Love this for us. Oh, wait, there's a long one. Let me read it. I was teaching a summer camp a few years ago, and our school bus got in an accident on the way to the field trip. Fast forward to last week, my coworker texted me after not talking a couple years, said that a lawyer contacted her because a biker that got hit by a bus was suing. The bus driver has since died, unrelated. Weird. Interesting. I saw your preview memes on Twitter for tomorrow. Thank you. Okay. Not shocked an admin care more about the school rep than protecting a child. Yeah, absolutely. This was awesome. Have a great day. Get a good night's sleep. I'll see you all tomorrow. Tomorrow we're learning about Hawaii. Yeah, have a good night. Make good choices. Don't do anything to add or subtract from the population. Love you. Bye.